Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to get into a real head-scratcher. Why is it that fishing rules can be so wildly different for the exact same fish, sometimes in the exact same spot in the ocean? It's a puzzle that has huge economic consequences, and we're going to break down exactly how this whole system works.
Okay, so picture this. You've got two fishing boats right next to each other out in federal waters. An angler on the boat from New Jersey hooks a 13-inch black sea bass. Nice fish. They put it in the cooler. A minute later, someone on the New York boat catches the exact same size fish, and they have to throw it back. So, what on earth is going on? How is that even possible?
And look, this isn't a small difference we're talking about. The numbers here are just wow. If you average it out over 5 years, the New Jersey angler can keep a fish that's almost 4 inches smaller. They can take home more than double the fish, and their season starts, on average, over a month earlier than the New York anglers. I mean, these aren't just little tweaks. It's like they're fishing in two completely different worlds for the same stock of fish.
All right, to figure this mystery out, we have to dive into the nitty-gritty of fisheries management. We're going to talk about a policy called conservation equivalency. And believe me, it's the engine that's driving all of these differences. So here's the basic idea behind it. The federal government says, okay, here's our conservation goal. We can't harvest more than this many fish. Conservation equivalency then lets each state come up with its own recipe, their own mix of size limits, bag limits, and seasons. The only rule is they have to show, using math, that their unique plan will meet that same federal conservation goal. The whole point is to give states some flexibility.
On paper, the process is supposed to be pretty straightforward. Step 1, the feds set that big coast-wide goal. Step 2, states can say, hey, we'd like to do it our own way, and they propose their custom rules. Step 3, those proposals go to a technical committee, the folks with the calculators, to make sure the math really does add up. If they give it the green light, bam, the state's unique rules are in.
And it all comes down to a big mathematical trade-off. It's kind of like a seesaw. If a state wants a smaller size limit, they have to add weight to the other side, by lowering the bag limit or shortening the season. It's all a balancing act, just making sure the total number of fish taken out of the water stays under that conservation target.
So this brings us back to the big question. How does New Jersey pull off having such a small size limit? Well, according to the source, they play this trade-off game very, very strategically. They agree to a super restrictive limit of just one fish during a part of the summer. Why? To pay for an absolutely massive 15-fish limit in the fall and winter, which just happens to be when those sea bass are thick in their waters. It's a clever move.
But this is where the analysis in our source material really starts to sound the alarm. It argues that this entire system, this whole idea of equivalency, is built on a really shaky foundation. We're talking about some serious technical flaws.
And one of the biggest problems is just bad data. The recreational fishing numbers they use for all this complex math, well, they often have a margin of error, it's called a PSE, that goes over 30%. Now, in the world of fishery science, that's kind of the magic number. Anything above 30% is generally considered too uncertain, too shaky to be making important management decisions with.
The source really breaks it down into 4 big connected problems. It all starts with that shaky data. Then, built on top of that bad data are some really questionable assumptions. For example, the models just pretend that New York anglers don't, just drive over to New Jersey to fish. This basically opens the door for states to game the system with really complex rules, which, in the end, are a nightmare to actually enforce out on the water.
And let's be clear. This isn't just some friendly debate about who gets to keep more fish. No. This has real dollars and cents consequences. New York's charter boat captains are put at a huge disadvantage. Tourism dollars are literally driving across the state line into New Jersey, because that's where the better fishing opportunities are. And that, of course, hurts all the local businesses back in New York. The marinas, the bait and tackle shops, everyone in those coastal towns feels it. Now, this feeling that New York is getting the short end of the stick, it's not exactly new. And this is where it gets really interesting. As the source material shows, there's a huge precedent from just a few years ago that could change this whole game.
That's because back in 2021,
New York's own Department of Environmental Conservation went to bat over an unfair allocation in the commercial fishery. They challenged the system, and here's the kicker, they won.
So how'd they do it? Well, their winning arguments weren't actually about the complicated math. They argued something much simpler. They said the rules were fundamentally not fair to New York. They said the rules ignored the fact that there's an abundant sea bass fishery right there in New York's own waters, and they proved that the decision caused direct, unfair economic harm. Sound familiar? These are the exact same arguments facing the state's recreational anglers today.
So what can be done? What's the path forward? Well, the source material doesn't just sit there and point out the problem. It actually lays out a clear, step-by-step playbook for how New York can fight back.
The immediate game plan is pretty aggressive. First thing, file a formal appeal and you lean hard on that 2021 victory as your precedent. While that's happening, you hire your own experts to do an independent review and tear apart New Jersey's data. From there, you start making phone calls, building a coalition with other states who are in the same boat, like Connecticut. Then, with that combined strength, you develop and submit your own, much fairer proposal.
And this whole strategy, it has some serious legal muscle behind it. Because this isn't just about what feels fair, it's about what's legal. The Magnuson-Stevens Act, which is basically the Constitution for American fisheries, has a rule called National Standard 4, and it couldn't be more clear. Management measures shall not discriminate between residents of different states. Period.
So when you're armed with that legal standard, New York's case gets incredibly strong. You can argue there's a clear discriminatory impact. You can attack the whole technical argument by pointing to the junk data. You can show in plain economic terms that this creates an unfair advantage for New Jersey businesses, and you can even make a powerful environmental justice argument about unfairly limiting a community's access to a public resource.
So the big takeaway here is that New York is anything but powerless in this fight. It has leverage coming from all sides. You've got the historical leverage from that 2021 win, you've got the technical arguments about the data flaws, you've got clear federal law on your side, and you have the political power to build a coalition and force change.
And that really brings us to the final, lingering thought. The analysis shows that a path to a fairer system isn't just some fantasy. It's clearly mapped out. There is a precedent. There's a legal foundation. There is a strategic playbook just sitting there. The only question left is one of political will. The playbook exists. Will New York actually use it?